The day is February 1st, 2003.
February the 2nd, 2003. 280 kilometers above the Earth, a team of NASA's top astronauts aboard the space shuttle Columbia prepare to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere.
Okay, Houston, go for the burn.
Paris, Tel Aviv, Moscow, Beijing, Vancouver, New York, London, then Paris again. Around the world in 90 minutes. Blazing in its orbit at 28,000 kilometers per hour, the astronauts on the shuttle experience 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every day. The hour leading up to Columbia's re-entry is a flurry of activity at the John F. Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida.
Let's get to work, shall we?
The man who must bring the Columbia to Earth is Leroy Cain, flight director. Just 39, he has risen through the ranks of NASA thanks to his iron nerve.
Okay, getting ready for the deorbit burn here in a few minutes.
It's not a job, clearly, for everyone or anyone that's not inclined to do that kind of work. I'm a person who sort of thrives on pressure.
Cain needs a team of technicians who must decide if conditions are right to bring the most complex flying vessel ever built safely to the ground. This is a rare interview with the one man who knows most about what happened that day.
Fundamentally, the flight director is responsible for the safety and success of the mission, the spacecraft, and the flight crew.
Okay, getting ready for the deorbit burn here in a few minutes. How do those targets look, Chief Guidance?
At 8:03 a.m., Cain continues his checklist.
Okay, flight controllers, we are through step 3.9. Go, no go for the burn. Fido, go.
The shuttle is computer operated from mission control. It's up to Cain to check every system to make sure he's alive.
Go. EPS, we are go flight. Flight surgeon?
The program essentially entrusts the mission operations team to execute the mission. And they, combine with the flight crew as the ops agent, if you will, for the space shuttle program, they are entrusted with this crown jewel of manned spaceflight to go execute the mission and do it safely and do it successfully and do everything within your ability to get the vehicle and the crew back at the end of the mission. So trust is huge.
It's all systems go. When Cain gives the order, Columbia's rockets will fire, slow the vessel down, and leave orbit. Columbia mission commander Rick Husband has dedicated his life to being an astronaut and earned his place as one of NASA's brightest stars. Canadian astronaut Julie Payette flew with Rick Husband on a previous shuttle mission.
We were both rookies, new guidance, which is no particular bond because you experience this new thing, space flight, together. Rick is the Texan. I know he spoke a very distinctive Texan accent. And here I was, a little girl from Montreal. It was a joy to fly and have this experience with him.
When I was 4 years old and the Mercury project first got started, I was in front of the TV for every one of the launches. And the whole time I was grown up, as long as I can remember, anytime anyone asked me what I wanted to be, it was, I want to be an astronaut.
Yes, Tom, flight. We're go for the burn. They can perform the maneuver on time.
Columbia, Houston, your go for the burn and you can make the maneuver on time. Okay, Houston, go for the burn.
Bringing Columbia back into the atmosphere is a critical job. It takes the shuttle from the cold of space into the raging inferno of the atmosphere. G. Scott Hubbard was a top scientist at NASA, one of the shuttle's main designers.
The shuttle is a very, very complex system. Probably the most complex flying machine humanity has ever built. It takes off like a rocket, it orbits like a spacecraft, it lands like an airplane.
Leroy Kane is the one who guides Columbia back through the atmosphere. He was born.
This is one of the biggest ideas we've ever had to pull off.
I tweeted out that I've been sitting on this idea for commercial, and Mark, the founder of Salesforce, responded. It wasn't really supposed to be a thing, but here we are.
We got to put together a massive social media campaign in addition to a massive production campaign. You can't be executing at this type of scale, at this type of speed without the right tools.
I couldn't fathom working on this commercial.
For the job.
I perform well under pressure. It's just a gift. It's not anything that I can take credit for. It's a gift, and some people have it, some people don't. And it becomes pretty clear pretty quick for folks that are going to be effective in those environments versus those who are not. It is a high-stress environment, and if you don't thrive and perform well in that kind of environment, it's really not a good job for you to be in.
Kane's team have never seen him flinch. Today, that will change forever. A 1,000 miles north, not far from Washington, D.C., a man who had spent his career at sea had no idea the space shuttle Columbia was about to consume a year of his life.
I'm not an aviator, and I've never flown in the shuttle, and have no relationship to NASA. I don't follow these things particularly closely, and I must admit that probably a lot of people in the United States don't either. After 100 missions, these are not followed very closely. And I did not know that it was scheduled to return to Earth that morning.
Admiral Gaiman will soon be tasked to find out whether Leroy Kane and his control team made mistakes that cost lives. The crew of the Space Shuttle Columbia prepare to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere and begin descent to Cape Canaveral. They're scheduled to touch down in exactly 1 hour, 4 minutes.
So what's the weather looking like in Florida?
Weather conditions are sunny and clear, perfect for landing.
They were NASA's best and brightest. Willie McCool, pilot. Kalpana Chawla, engineer. Michael Anderson, payload commander. Laurel Clark, zoologist. David Brown, flight surgeon. Ilan Ramon, electronics expert.
We have such a new and young crew, and we work together for so long, that the relationship is something you don't quite understand.
There's always the potential for something going wrong. You know, we try not to think about those things.
I remember Gemini and Apollo quite late into the 60s, and then Skylab and the early shuttle.
Maybe something which only a handful can do. But if you really like what you do, then you've never really lost anything.
As an Israeli astronaut, they look at you as a dream that they could never have dreamed.
But the first free moment I have, I'm excited about just looking down at our planet.
This was a unique mission. There were no spacewalks, no work done to the space station. The shuttle bay was filled with a science lab to conduct experiments strictly designed to help humankind learn about long-term space survival. The experiments ranged from tests on animals, fish, and ants to the study of cancer, all designed to help human beings escape from Earth.
Where did we come from? Are we alone? Where are we going? What happens when a living system leaves the planet of origin, leaves this Earth? I think it is critical for understanding how life works, to understand the role of gravity, and if we're ever going to take the probably 3-year trip to Mars with people, we have to learn a lot more about how you fix the problems that weightlessness creates. Weightlessness for human beings is a lot like aging. So what the Columbia was doing scientifically was a little baby step along that way.
It's unbelievable that the human body, who has evolved for millions of years, and for most of us to spend several decades under gravity before we go to space, and then we go there and a couple of days later, it's just like almost been weightlessness, and we have to readapt to gravity 10 or 12 days later.
Despite all the training, nothing can prepare astronauts for the experience of zero gravity.
In a quarter of a second, we just go from 3 times heavier to you're still strapped into your seat, but you can tell you're already floating in it, and then stuff starts floating in the cabin. And then your brain says, whoa, nobody told me about this. What's this about?
Every client has their own definition of justice, and my job as an attorney is to
Space shuttle missions are bracketed in dangerous bookends. Launch and re-entry. Launch was 16 days earlier.
Commander Rick Husband, as he is currently in the White Room, our pilot, Willie McCool. This is his first flight.
At launch, the Columbia weighs 4.5 million pounds. Much of that weight is fuel, housed in an orange foam-covered tank directly under the shuttle. Basically, the Columbia is hardwired to a big bomb.
Go for main engine start.
Space exploration is a risky business. It is foolish for anyone who's in that arena to pretend to the public that there aren't significant challenges and that there aren't risks, including the risk of death and tragedy. The shuttle is a risky vehicle. It needs to be replaced.
The world watched stupefied in 1986 when the Space Shuttle Challenger turned into a fireball. This terrible image scarred NASA's safety record. Almost 2 decades later, NASA still feared another disaster. Columbia's mission had been delayed 13 times over 2 years because of technical snags. The time had finally come.
2, 1, we have booster ignition and liftoff of Space Shuttle Columbia with a multitude of national and international space research experiments.
NASA had been under a lot of pressure to get Columbia into space after so many setbacks.
When you're in a program, it's got a lot of schedule pressure, a lot of budget pressure, a lot of performance requirements. The tendency that grew up over time was for you to get launch fever. Let's just go ahead and get this thing done. Okay, we got the right stuff.
Once Columbia had left the launch pad, it fought to escape the Earth's gravity.
That's when the ride is very rough. It's shaking inside, there's a lot of movement. It's actually hard to interact with our systems About midway, it starts turning and then does a 180 to face back up with respect to space. Before that, the space shuttle was facing toward Earth. And inside, that's when we start feeling the pressures of acceleration and cheese. As we go into thinner and thinner atmosphere, faster and faster, higher and higher. And that's when you feel that you're pressed into your seat.
Rocket booster separation confirmed. Guidance now converging. Columbia's onboard computers command.
The Columbia launch appeared to be a textbook success.
Precise target in space.
And they're getting ready to take a look outside the window. And immediately after we pitched up, and we're looking at it through the overhead window.
8 minutes later, the shuttle was in orbit 300 kilometers above the Earth, racing at 28,000 kilometers per hour.
No, you're not. You gotta plug in that right. I'm sorry. We talked about it. Yeah. Okay. 2 minutes to enter interface.
Now, 45 minutes from their scheduled return to the Earth, Columbia's astronauts face a lethal problem.
Take a look at this.
One day after launch, a team inspecting video discovered that a piece of foam from the main fuel tank had come loose and hit the shuttle's left wing during liftoff.
Whoa. Can you highlight it?
Yeah, no problem.
This was nothing new, but usually the pieces were popcorn size. This chunk of foam was big.
What do you think? We have to get this upstairs.
The piece was about the size of a 50-centimeter television screen, but weighed nearly a kilo.
The foam has to cover irregular areas on the surface of this external tank. It's a huge amount of acreage. I mean, you're covering hundreds and hundreds of square feet or square meters. The foam doesn't stick perfectly. And so every flight, literally every flight of the shuttle, some of it comes off.
These days, it seems like there's a new AI browser launching every other month.
Yeah.
It was, in NASA speak, an in-family problem. The question now was the damage to the shuttle deadly?
We're checking that. We got the flight control power on. We're working through the rest of it as well. Thanks. Sounds good.
After 16 days in orbit, the Space Shuttle Columbia prepares to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere.
We are also talking about what you can do
in the event that we do have some damage there.
Right, okay.
So we ought to pull that along.
With years of experience in foam collision, the team agreed the damage was not critical.
112 or whatever the flight was, just to make sure.
Yeah, and we'll do that.
Then Han delivered an explicit admission. NASA was helpless.
You know, I really don't think there's much we can do. So it's not really a factor with this flight because there's nothing we can do about it.
Okay.
Engineer Scott Hubbard thinks his colleagues at NASA made a fatal mistake.
At 82 seconds after launch, the shuttle is moving very fast, more than 2.5 times the speed of sound. When the foam fell off, it began to slow down because it is very light. The difference in the speed of the foam and the speed of the shuttle at that point was about 500 miles an hour. So in a sense, the shuttle ran into the foam.
5 separate meetings about the foam strike. Flight Director Leroy Kane was in those meetings. All ended with no action being taken.
Subject, dealt with debris hit. The Space Shuttle program was asked directly if they had any interest or desire in requesting resources outside of NASA to view the orbiter. they said no. After talking to Phil, I consider it to be a dead issue.
Linda Ham authorized one of her mission team to inform Shuttle Commander Rick Husband of the problem.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah, Steve.
There's one item I'd like to bring to your attention. The item is not even worth mentioning other than wanting to make sure you're not surprised by it in a question from a reporter. During ascent, at approximately 80 seconds, photo analysis shows some debris impacted the orbiter left wing. Experts have reviewed the high-speed photography and there's no concern. We have seen this same phenomenon on several other flights and there's absolutely no concern for entry.
Thanks for letting me know. I've seen this happen. Look, can you get the video up to me so I can have a look and I'll show it to my crew?
Sure thing. Safe ride home. Thanks, Steve. Keep up the good work.
Columbia, out.
NASA uplinked the tape to the shuttle. Rick Husband showed it to the crew. No one was alarmed. They all knew it had happened before. And raising a fuss would put the entire shuttle program in jeopardy.
As the Columbia management was working on the assessment of this strike, which appears to have hit the orbiter, not the solid rocket boosters, it appears to have hit the shuttle itself. They were very sensitive about what label they would put on this thing. Because they knew that if they put what I consider to be the appropriate label on this thing, which is a serious flight hazard label, it would automatically cancel the next flight. And schedule pressures were so intense that they were reluctant to do that.
2 days before their scheduled return to Earth, Husband, McCool, and Schauler ran a complete simulation of re-entry. Husband and his team were certain the Columbia was technically ready for touchdown at Cape Canaveral at 9:16 the following morning.
We're very happy to welcome.
They didn't know their spacecraft was lethally damaged. Just over half an hour from their scheduled touchdown, all systems seemed perfectly normal on the Space Shuttle Columbia. In mission control, Flight Director Leroy Kane total calm.
It was right by the numbers, as I recall. And then we worked with the crew through the post-burn checklist. There was nothing out of the norm. Everything was going really well. The systems were all performing very well. The team was really on top of its game that day.
How do we look at landing? There goes Mike. Nico.
2 minutes later, the Columbia enters the discernible atmosphere, 200,000 feet above the Earth's surface. The utter cold of space transforms into violent heat on Columbia's hull. The temperature on the shuttle wings soars to 1,400 degrees Celsius. This is normal, but the superheated air is entering through the unseen hole caused by the sonar. The internal structure was never designed to withstand such heat churning inside the left wing.
I used to struggle with dandruff, but now I use Head & Shoulders every wash.
Well, because the active ingredient in Head & Shoulders fights off the...
Parents, if your child plays Roblox, listen up. You could qualify for up to $300,000.
A huge piece of thermal tile flies off the shuttle. The astronauts have no idea that the shuttle is irreversibly and rapidly disintegrating. This will be the first piece of Columbia found on the ground by investigators.
Please respond.
Then, a new problem from the system's tech in mission control.
Tire pressure on the left outboard and left inboard.
final words between Mission Control and Columbia Commander Nick Husband.
Left outboard and left inboard both sides. In Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure messages and we did not get it.
Instrumentation Max.
Outboard Max Danger.
This is Houston. Please respond.
For 2 minutes, nothing but silence.
Houston, please respond.
Flight, there's
Still no response from Columbia.
Copy.
Leroy Kane's mind flashes back to the foam impact. In that moment, he knows the unthinkable has happened, and that NASA has made a grave mistake.
I can probably even show you, if you have the mission control video, where that thought was going through my mind.
Tracking. 1 minute to go, flight. Columbia, Houston, UHF comm check. Columbia, Houston, UHF comm check.
Dallas TV News showed home video of the disaster before NASA's computers positively confirmed what Kane had feared.
GC flight. Flight GC, block the doors. Copy.
Mission Control is now like a crime scene that must not be contaminated.
I just wanted to make sure that number one, folks understood that, again, stay focused on the task here. Let's stay within ourselves and stay within the system and keep doing what we know and understand how to do until we know more. And that's when I asked them to lock the doors.
Between the time
400.
ground lost communication with the crew
300.
and the time that the orbiter broke up entirely was a span of perhaps
200.
a minute or less. And during that period of time is when the wing
100.
disintegrated. The orbiter may
50.
have started flipping
30.
around. It may
10.
have started tumbling. We're not really sure, but it was not instantaneous. There was a period of time in there when the crew probably knew that the end was near.
At 9:18, the Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrates, with the flagship of the fleet a screaming fireball over the desert. Seven men and women have died on Leroy Kane's watch.
Marty, can you confirm that the DDMS folks in the Dallas area mobilized to the extent we're able to?
Yeah, Rescue Coordination Center is mobilizing to that area.
These were people that I knew, that I cared about. They were part of my, certainly part of my work family, and these are people that my kids and my wife knew and had relationships with. It was part of our family, and it was difficult to think about the fact that we may have just lost it.
Now it's up to investigators to determine what went wrong.
I'm getting to the phone and I'm searching 500, and my bedtime is at 7:30. Most two phones to get to but
Their mission was almost complete, and we lost them so close to home. The men and women of the Columbia had journeyed more than 6 million miles and were minutes away from arrival.
7 people are dead after the space shuttle Columbia disintegrates over Texas. It's one of NASA's worst failures.
The rule of thumb in the space business, and the space business is a one strike and you're out business. It's not a type of business where you get another shot at bat. You can have one problem and it creates a tragedy. So you need constant vigilance. And this is the part of the foam shedding that was so unfortunate, that the impact of it was never evaluated thoroughly. The rule of thumb is fly as you test as you fly. And that meant that people should have, as changes were made, as this problem kept appearing, they should have gone and understood it much more deeply.
Hours after the disaster, NASA called upon a retired Navy admiral with no space experience and no axe to grind to conduct an inquiry.
We are going to work with the NASA officials.
Hal Gaiman's findings were detailed and damning.
I mean, the shuttle program management was unsafe. They couldn't manage anything safely. I mean, they couldn't manage a bus line safely, much less a shuttle, because of the way they were organized.
Good morning. We will follow the same process that we follow at all of our press conferences.
We made a template
short opening statement
of how people who do risky things manage and assess the risk. And we applied that template to the space shuttle program, and they failed miserably.
5 months after the accident, scientist G. Scott Hubbard conducted a test.
We fired a 1.7-pound piece of foam at about 500 miles an hour at the lower part of panel number 8. It had been taken off one of the other orbiters, so it had a flight history just exactly, or as close as we could, to that of Columbia. Fired that piece of foam, and it blew a hole 16 inches in diameter. There was a audible gasp from the crowd. The astronauts who were with me, one of them said, "So this is what really happened." It was clear then that we achieved not only a technical goal, we'd achieved a psychological goal as well.
The shuttle was mortally wounded with a large hole in the wing. During re-entry, super hot air penetrated the wing, burned through insulation, and melted the aluminium structure like candle wax.
Instead of a period behind our findings, we had an exclamation mark.
Some managers retired, and others were reassigned.
There are some people who did the wrong things. They can.
Alright guys, and that is it for this video today. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Make sure to hit the like, subscribe button. See my future video. See you guys next time. Bye.